Steve Vaughn had lunch today in the cafeteria at the Shackley Corporation. For Steve, it was a special occasion. On December 15th, the company told its employees that demand for Shackley products was going to be flat for the next few months. That meant 21 employees would have to be fired unless all 163 plant workers agreed to work shorter hours. On December 16th, the workers voted to go to a 4-day, 35-hour work week, saving Shackley $300,000.
I'm one of the 21 people that would have got laid off, so I'd already tell you how I felt that I got to stay. I thought it was a thing to do. It was right before Christmas, and nobody wanted to see anybody lose their job.
To me, it was terribly appropriate for them to decide whether they wanted to reduce their earnings to save 21 people. I don't think that's a decision I ought to make for them. I think it's a decision they ought to make for themselves. I'm happy the way it turned out.
And of course, Steve Vaughn and 20 others are happy too. They had grown used to eating lunch at Shackley. Bill Ross, Action 4 in Norman.
Will be a motion of the Oklahoma Fertilizers Manufacturers Association for the exclusion from evidence of all or the designated portions of certain exhibits heretofore filed herein. Exhibit number 103 will be a memorandum brief of the Oklahoma Fertilizer Manufacturers Association in support of its motion to exclude from evidence certain exhibits. These last two designated exhibits were filed, I believe, January 7, 1983. At this time,
we review the record in this proceeding. We can say that we think that the costs that ONG is incurring with these supplies, the costs the staff has challenged, are excessive, they're unreasonable, and they're resulting in unreasonable rates to ONG's consumers, including the members of the OFMA.
Is excessive and how the marketplace operates. To our position, number 3, number 12, number 13, number 14, number 15, number 16, 17.
And this
Okay. Made it fun. Okay. Okay. Miss Monroe. Miss Monroe? You know us, Grandma. Yes. Oh.
Dealing with the standard measures, and as we go along we'll get into metron. You can find the answer.
Which part?
Under the centimeters.
Because 1 decimeter.
1 decimeter. Go to our assignment sheet on page 61A in our book. Phyllis, would you please go?
I think it's a lousy deal. And the reason why I say so, I was adopted out of that home when I was 6 months old in 1938. And we don't need that. We don't need what they're wanting to bring in here.
McAllister is the county seat for Pittsburgh County. This is where the county's first black county commissioner works. For the most part, residents have given a warm welcome to the new commissioner since he was sworn into office on January 3rd. But it was right after that when trouble started for Bill Weber. The District 1 County Commissioner fired 3 men whom he says had bad attitudes and had boasted about not wanting to work for him. Days later, 6 other District 1 employees resigned. Weber started to receive death threats at his county barn, and his own personal barn was burned down. We asked the commissioner if he thought his former employees were to blame.
They have some suspects. I'm not really that close to the investigation, and I really don't know where they're at this moment, today. I think in time, in a few days, they'll have the matter cleared up, and the suspects will either be cleared or arrested.
A few of Weber's chickens and a rooster escaped the flames. The barn was a total loss, with damage estimated to be about $30,000. He doesn't think the burning was racially motivated because he fired both black and white employees. But feels since he won the election by a 1% margin, there was bound to be some friction.
Commissioner Weber says he will not be intimidated by people destroying his property or by threats. He plans on letting the OSBI and the county sheriff's office handle the investigation, while he spends the next 4 years being a county commissioner who plans on standing his ground. Ed Stewart, Action 4 in Hartshorne.
And we think the program that we are implementing this year that you're aware of now, that is going to more than double what we did last year. Last year we put out about 3.5 million pounds of cheese. This year we hope to put out about 8.5 million pounds of cheese. Last year we put out about 500,000 pounds of butter. This year we hope to do 1.5 million pounds of butter. So we hope to get more people more often.
And you all come on back so that we can get in with the butter, okay?
When it is announced that free butter or cheese is going to be given away, people waste little time to find out where. This is a sure sign that thousands of Oklahomans are hungry and are in desperate need of decent food. These days, hunger and malnutrition can be found in just about any part of the state. In Oklahoma, almost 200,000 people are malnourished and are not served on a regular basis by any government food program. Oklahoma City Food Bank is an organization that sees the problem daily. Food that leaves the bank only reaches a small percentage of those starving. A 44-page report shows certain low-income groups are likely candidates for malnutrition. They include senior citizens, infants, pregnant women, and school-aged children. The research also shows hunger will become more visible in coming months.
I think we're going to go into a holding pattern just because it's winter, even if the weather doesn't feel like it. It is winter, and during the winter, problems such as these don't stay quite as visible. You don't see people living in tents and under bridges and in cars, and you don't have that kind of visual representation of hunger and poverty. But the problem will still be there. It'll just be a little hidden from public view. I think this spring we'll probably see it resurging. The recession may be ceasing a bit, but unemployment is continuing to go up.
Some people's situation is so bad now, they have to live in their cars year-round. For these Oklahomans, eating every day is a luxury. Each month, more Sooners are asking for food assistance, only to be told help may not be available. That's why the cheese and butter giveaways are becoming so popular. For the next couple of days, county commissioners from 44 counties will pick up dairy products for distribution across the state. The hardest part will be making sure the 750,000 pounds of food reaches those really in need. Ed Stewart, Action 4.
victim to a side street in the downtown area where he sexually assaulted the woman.
This rapist was later described as an Indian male, approximately 22 years old, 5 feet 8 inches tall.
Offered to help the stranded lady. As the woman leaned in the car, the suspect suddenly grabbed the victim and pulled her into the car, where he then threatened her.
Our fair-weathered feathered friends are probably able to stay a lot warmer than we are. Feathers are good insulation. But just like us, they have to eat to stay healthy. The problem is, when it gets cold, many people neglect to feed their birds. This will have sad consequences, since birds are pretty smart, and if they don't get their food, they'll fly away forever. Neil Garrison is a bird watcher who works at the Martin Nature Park. He feeds his birds daily, usually with a mixture of sunflower seeds, millet, and animal fat. He says it's important to keep plenty of warm water in your bird baths, even buy a portable heater if you have to, and he has further advice.
Birds become dependent on you, and say if you go on vacation in the wintertime, you need to make arrangements with a neighbor or a friend or something to continue your bird feeding program, because the birds expect the food to be there, and if they come back some icy, snowy morning, and the food's not there, then they're in serious trouble.
Garrison says if you keep your birds happy and well fed, they may not migrate to the south. After all animals, like this squirrel, know where their bread is buttered, and if they stay with you, all the more for you to enjoy. Bellishaw, Action 4 at the Martin Nature Park.
So we start back in October. We run another dry run in November. We do it in December. We mount snow plows. We see that they all work, take them off. Hopefully we never have to use them, but if we do, we try to have everything mechanically working.
It has been 1 year since the Star School explosion. 30 people were killed and 7 injured when the school's hot water heater exploded. The accident caught students and administrators by surprise as they started to eat lunch. It was nothing less than a living nightmare. Frantic parents searched for their children while emergency technicians did all they could to help those who were hurt. Many families still consider this the worst day of their lives. Even now, children who survived the explosion often end up back in the hospital because of complications. Medical bills for some families can go as high as $20,000. A few parents doubt if their children will ever completely recover from the effects of the Star explosion. Pat Murphy told Action 4 her 10-year-old daughter, Christine, continues to suffer. The Murphy family says the emotional scars are the toughest ones to deal with.
Market because of the uproar of opposition. I can't work. I do a range. It's kind of an unthinkable concept, and I don't think the probably 99.9% or more than that of the population could never have perceived something like this coming out of video. enterprise. And the fact that it has arisen simply means that there's possibilities other people may do the same thing if they feel like there's a market for it. And I simply would like to say let's put a stop to it if we can at this point.
We're in good shape on the west runway. On the east runway, the other major runway, the braking action is poor, but it's because they did not pull their hot sand operations over to that runway until early in the afternoon. So generally speaking, we're fully operational using the west runway here at the airport.
And she said my gait was normal, and my walk. When I went in there for my x-ray, the physical, I had a broke leg. Now, how could your gait be normal with a broke leg?
Jim Steele can't understand why his Social Security disability payments have been stopped. Senators Don Nichols and David Boren talked with Steele and about 50 other Oklahomans angry about their loss of benefits. Steele has had 3 back operations and numerous other physical problems. A local administrative judge granted him benefits, but the National Social Security Office in Baltimore overturned that decision. Pat Clark was also upset. Her son Jack has brain tumors. He's subject to frequent seizures. One doctor told Jack he could cure him, so Jack didn't appeal his loss of benefits. But Jack wasn't cured.
The first thing that happened, he began having severe ringing in his ears and dizziness. One day, some of our foremen picked him up and brought him home. He had fallen off a roof where he was trying to work.
Now the Clarks are having trouble getting Jack's benefits reinstated, and they want help. Help is on the way for some people. A new law allows someone who loses at a local hearing to keep receiving benefits until their appeal is completed. If the appeal is lost, the money must be repaid. But even with the new law, these people made it plain they want careful oversight of the Social Security Administration. Bill Ross, Action 4 at the state capitol.
It cost more to live at the end of 1982 than at the start of the year. But the falling price of gasoline helped slow the inflation rate to its lowest level since President Nixon slapped wage and price controls on the nation 10 years ago. The government says prices rose about 4% last year. That's far below the double-digit inflation we've become accustomed to. However, most people didn't notice the drop.
I haven't really, I can't tell. I don't know what the percentage is this year or last year, but I haven't seen any difference myself,
I haven't noticed any much difference except maybe the gas has gone down. Groceries and anything else, I haven't noticed any change. Everything still seems too high to me.
That's a good deal, I think. I really do. Especially for us poor people.
Unfortunately, not everyone has been able to enjoy the relatively low inflation rate. 11 out of every 100 workers can't find a job right now. It's ironic. The country enjoys record prosperity along with record unemployment. Scott Wallace, Action 4.
Cost, but I have done some work. I've got some pledges for us.
Okay, I've got one from Bonner and Henley Law.
$3.03, so he did. Linda Jameson pledged $25.
Each night, thousands of people around the city bed down in their cars, abandoned buildings, and outside. The nation's troubled economy has made living tough for many people. In the last year, the number of homeless in the Oklahoma City area has skyrocketed to more than 5,000, but there are only enough beds for 500. These people want to change that. They met Monday night to help find more shelter and food for the homeless.
You see so many times in past years, we have put the responsibility on the government and let the government programs answer our conscience relative to what we need to do. But you see, service ministries were never intended to be operated by the government. Service ministries have to originate in a heart that's touched with the concerns for human beings.
Coleman Cruz was one of those people who was homeless and got a helping hand.
It was a great help to me and my wife. Without it, I don't know where we would have been. I guess out alongside the road trying to go somewhere else, you know. I mean, it was bad, you know, being at the bottom like that, but I'm kind of glad it was, you know. I'm glad I seen it, because maybe later on, you know, I can do something to help somebody else.
Debbie Mash, Action 4 Today.
This is only what I can gather talking to people, but I understand that to develop at a time when it is not.
If this land is condemned and the owners deprived of any economically viable use of it, of course someone is going to have to pay for it. That, of course, has been the purpose behind the several weeks of settlement negotiations that have taken place, is who is going to pay for this land once the owner is deprived of its use.
Want to build something? Come on.
Dave Renfro and his wife Judy are both in the education field. They have a baby boy, and were anxious to see what the president would say regarding the future for their son and themselves. But what they heard tonight did not leave them feeling reassured.
It bothers me tremendously. I'm in special ed, and the first place that's going to be cut would be my job. And when he talks about freezes on federal spending, that's me. So, might not be too good of a future for us, so I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what he's got in mind for us, I guess.
The Senate Majority Leader and
Dave felt the president was shirking his share of responsibility for current unemployment rates. He also thinks Reagan blaming past administration for today's problems is a cop-out.
I will never buy that
that in 2 years' time we could have 12 million people unemployed and that type of a deficit, and that it was inherited.
Although they didn't agree with much of what the president said, there were points of the speech that they did find favorable. But overall, this Oklahoma City family is concerned and worried about the direction President Reagan has decided to take. Kevin Ogle, Action 4.
My son took sick just a couple of days before New Year's Eve, and we thought it was the flu, and we kept putting off taking him to the doctor or hospital or anything because my husband had lost his insurance and everything.
The United Auto Workers Union office was a busy place today.
That's the shop committee, and I don't know if they'll be in the office this morning, but...
The phone lines lit up like a Christmas tree as thousands of former second shift employees called the union office, inquiring about the jobs that they had lost more than a year ago.
Can I answer now?
For many, the year and 3 months without work has been a hardship. And local UAW President Keith Campbell is happy to finally be the bearer of some good news.
Like I said, I was damn happy when I first heard it. Of course, it's going to improve the economy in Oklahoma. We know it's going to lower the unemployment rate.
Temporary jobs for unemployed auto workers have not been easy to find in Oklahoma City. Jim Quinlan is one of the lucky ones. After more than 20 years with GM, Jim now works as a delivery boy for a local pizza restaurant. The job pays less than half the $32,000 a year he was making on the assembly line. Jim is more than ready to go back to what he terms his real job.
Going back to work the 25th of April, and I'm very, very happy. Very happy. This is just, we've been waiting a year and a half to go back to work. I've been with General Motors 20 years, and I've been off. This is the longest I've ever been off. And it's just a wonderful feeling to know that we're going back. Finally, it's official. And delivering pizza is a good temporary job, but I'd still be glad to get back to General Motors.
There's no question that the GM recall is anything but good news, but one big question remains unanswered. How long will second shift employees be able to stay on the job? For Jim Quillen, that's not really a problem. As far as he's concerned, as long as these cars continue to sell, he won't have to deliver pizza. Kurt Autry, Action 4.
Anytime we have a group of people who are susceptible to influenza in a given area, school or location similar to that, when a person brings in influenza into that setting, it's very common to have an outbreak with 10 to 20% of the people affected.
Back home for sure. That's something of it.